In this video I would like to show you how we add some additional information to our mapped variables. Currently we have only the points here, and when I take this identify tool here and click on one of them, I can see that the only information that we have here is the ID and nothing else. Some derived informations like the coordinates, for example, but that's all. But what we want to map later on are, for example, the different objects here or the different sexes and how they are distributed in the burial ground. To do that, we have to connect the spatial locations here with some additional information. If we would have used one of these database systems like PostGIS or Postgres or MySQL or, for example, DB2, we could directly embed these informations here using the connector to the database system. But since we used Libre Office Base, we have to go to a different approach, and for that we have to use CSV files that we connect with the spatial informations that we have in respect to our burials. So let's start with mapping the general features of the individual graves, or connecting them to our spatial location here in the GIS system. To do that, we switch to LibreOffice Calc, not Base directly, but Calc. Open the data sources again and open our database. And the informations, the general informations for the graves, are stored in the table graves. So we can open that. Again, select everything here and copy it down here to our spreadsheet part. And now we can import this information into the GIS system using CSV files. So we have to save this again as a CSV file, and I do that by save as, and I have already prepared that, so I will just replace that. Miskovice Graves is the name I will give it here. So this is the information in respect to the graves. Save it. I want to replace my original fonts. So we can add this to the spatial information here by importing, in the first place, this CSV into the GIS system. We do it by clicking on the layer dialog and say add layer. And here are different formats of layers that we could add, very different formats. The one that we would like to have here is delimited text layer, because the CSV file represents a text layer and it's delimited in this time by the comma. So that's the right option here to go. Add delimited text layer. And then we are asked where is our file, or from where we get our file. So here I have to click to these three dots and select this CSV file that we just saved. Click on open. Automatically I get a layer name suggested. I'm fine with that. And also we can change here different stuff in respect to the file format. We have a CSV file, so we're fine with that. And all the rest are good. We can see here a sample, so that looks like it should look. The first record has the field names. That's in our case true. If I remove that, it would look like that. That's not what we'd like. Field types are automatically detected. That's fine. And the decimal separator is identified correctly. Then usually this dialog would open like that here in geometry definition point coordinates are specified. This is in the case that our CSV file already contains coordinates. If this would be the case, we could here select X and Y. So for example, the column that holds the X coordinates and the column that holds the Y coordinates. But we don't have them, so we choose no geometry. Attributes table only, because it is actually only an attribute table without any geometry, without any spatial information. Still we can define here geometry, but this is not useful in this situation. So we just click here and leave it like that. And all the other informations are not so relevant, so we can see that here our sample data looks fine. We can load it like that. So we click on add. And then we can close this dialog. So now we have an attribute table here. If I right click on that and open attribute table, I can see here the individual informations, and it's still not connected with the geo coordinates from this Miskovice grave layer here. To connect that, we have to join the two tables. It's more or less similar like doing a database query. So we click here with the right mouse button on this spatial layer and say properties, and then we usually would probably start here, but there is also the button or the option here, joins, and we would like to use that. So we add a new join. We would like to join this layer with this Miskovice graves attribute table. The join field is grave number, because we used the ID in our spatial information, used there the grave number, so this should be the connection. The grave number in our grave information should be the same like the ID in our spatial dataset. You can also leave the rest like it is. Click on OK, and now we can see that we have here a join layer. And also, I just click apply and close. If I again use this information option here and click on one of the graves, I can see now that we have some informations here from the grave tables, but as I see now, there are some errors here. No, okay, this is just one case. Okay, here we have some information about length, width, and depth. In that grave I had before, there are no information about length and width, so this could be due to the data that we have. Okay, here we have some informations. Now we can use this to, for example, color our points. To do so, again, I click here with the right mouse button to properties, click on symbology, and say we want to have a symbol that is graduated according, for example, to the depth of the burial pit. So I choose graduated, and now I have to select which column defines the graduation. So I choose Miskovice graves depth here. Then I can also change the color ramp, for example, to a spectral one, of a color ramp from red to blue. And I have to classify the values here. Clicking on classify, I get here some different classes for our values. Now I can click apply and close. Now you can see that the individual points here are colored according to the depth. So this one is a rather deep grave with 1 meter 10, while this one here is a rather shallow one with a depth of only 14 centimeters. So with this we can visualize different informations here according to the data that we have.